Hi, it's Rob from the Bush and Boltgun. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to paint a Warrior of Minas Tirith. If you'd like to support the channel, our Ko-fi and Patreon pages are linked below, and here's the video. So the first colour we're going to use on this one is Vallejo Black, and this is going to be to paint the kind of skirts he's got going on around the side. You can also see a little bit of the same cloth coming out the side under his shoulder and upper arm armour, and also around the back of his legs too, because you only have the armour plates on his legs on the front. You're also going to be painting the full front and back of the shield black. There is a couple of little bits of armour trim on the top and bottom edges of the shield which you'll leave silver. This guy's been sprayed with Citadel Leadbelcher to begin with, so that's why he's entirely silver to start. Now I'm going to use a little bit of Citadel Retributor armour. This is just to paint a few little bits gold on a miniature, so you've got the little cross piece on the sword there. You've also got the pommel at the bottom. I've done the bits on the scabbard in gold too. Like so. Next up, I'm going to use a little bit of Cadian Fleshtone from Citadel. Just do the little bit of his face that's showing through there. I realise at the end here that I don't really cover his hair, but his hair is just painted with Dryad bark and washed with Nuln Oil and then picked out with Dryad bark again. Next up, a little bit of Citadel Stormhost silver. We're going to use this to do the blade of his sword. Just wanted the blade to be that little bit brighter than the rest of him, to have that nice shine of a polished blade. Now we're going to do the shades. We're going to use Citadel Reikland Fleshshade to start with, just to do his skin. Like so. Next up is a little bit of Citadel Agrax Earthshade. We're just going to use this to do all of the golden sections. Like so. Next up, I'm going to use a little bit of Citadel Nuln Oil, and for this we're going to go over all of the armour plates. I'm going to use this on his sword, although if you wanted to you could use Citadel Nuln Oil gloss on his sword, so although it'd shade it, you'd still have that glossy finish to the sword to give it a nice shine. Next, I'm going to start reapplying the colour. I'm going to start with Citadel Leadbelcher. I'm going to reapply this to his armour, making sure that you leave the Nuln Oil in all the recesses. I'm trying to get the little bands on his armour down his hips there, on each side, to have that slight shine where it's going down in ridges. The armour plate's looking a bit funny because they go down the opposite way to how you'd usually imagine them, I think. Now we're going to use a little bit of Stormhost silver just to start highlighting the armour plates. I'm trying to think about where the light is reflecting on the armour plates here, so the top of the knee armour there, and then the top of the shin armour, like where the shin armour curves in sort of around the lower leg, that's going to have less of a highlight to it. And then where it pops out again just above the foot, you have more of a highlight there too. And the top of these bands too, you want to do a nice highlight on the top of each one of those. Now I'm going to use a little bit of Vallejo Modeler Chrome. It's ever so slightly shinier than the Stormhost Silver. I'm just going to use this to do final highlights, like touch up the white tree that he's got going on the front of his armour. Also picking out the details and then picking out the ridges too, just to make those stand out that little bit more. Like so. Now we're going to be using a little bit of Cadian Fleshtone. We're going to start working on the skin again. Just want to be picking out those areas and making sure that you're leaving plenty of the shade in the recesses there. Like so. Now we're going to be adding some Vallejo White to the Rakarth flesh. Just doing little highlights on the face there. We're thinking about where the light is going to catch his face, because obviously he's got the armour overhanging his brows, so there's not going to be too many highlights on there. Next is Vallejo White, and we're going to pick out his eyes here. So as always, you want to be going from the nose to the outside of the head if you can. Not very well shown on this, so I'll link up Paint and Eyes video. It's up there so that you can see what I mean. But you want to be dragging the tip of the brush from the nose to the outside of the head to avoid getting the white paint anywhere else on him. With those done, we're now going to use some Vallejo Black and just put a tiny spot in each eye to do the pupil, like so. Next up, it's going to be Vallejo German Grey, and we're going to highlight some of the black that we've painted onto the miniature. So this is mainly going to be on the robes, and you can do a few little highlights on the shield. But it's mainly the roby kind of bits that he's got, and then the armour on the back of his legs, that kind of area. Like so. Next up, we're going to use a little bit of Mechanicus Standard Grey from Citadel. We're just going to highlight the areas that we've just done with the German Grey. Now I have turned the brightness up a little bit here so that you can see where the German Grey is on the shield and on his robes and things like that. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to see where the colours are being picked out with the Mechanicus Standard Grey. Now we're going to go for some Citadel Retributor armour. We're going to start reapplying the colour to the golden sections. So with these, again, you want to be thinking about where the light is catching it. And just mainly highlight those areas. Now we're going to have Citadel Liberator Gold. We're just going to highlight those sections that we've just painted with the Retributor armour. Like so. And finally on the gold, we're going to add a little bit of Vallejo Modeler Chrome to the Liberator Gold and just do one final highlight, mainly on the edges and that kind of area, just to pick those out and give them a nice good shine. Like so. Finally, we're going to use Vallejo White. This is just going to be to paint the white tree on the front of the shield. It's quite easy to get the white over the lines on this, so once you've finished it, just go back with a really thin brush. I'm using the Army Painted Wargamer character brush here, and just use a little bit of black or German Grey depending on what you're using, and just go over any areas where you might have overshot those little thin lines or the little spots. This is the finished Warrior of Minas Tirith. Great little figure. I think an army of them would look quite spectacular. Really happy with how he turned out. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Also, think about subscribing to our other social media, linked below. Thanks very much. If you like the channel, you enjoy the content and you'd like to support us, our Ko-fi and Patreon pages are linked below. Thanks very much.